Should you build your story around the characters, or should you build your story around the setting? Okay, God, I just hit the camera hard. If you're starting out creating a story, and I know some people ask this question, should I build the story around the character first, or should I build the world first and then start trying to put characters into the world? This is just my opinion, this is just my point of view on this, but I think you should build the character first and then build the world around the character. Here's why. When you build a world, essentially, and you start building the characters to fit into a world, a lot of times what most people do is they build this really elaborate setting, and they build this fantastic, magical place, or they create the actual environment for the stories, for the characters to basically be in, but it's almost like the story is telling itself based upon the setting alone, and there's not really a setting with the characters. There's no reason for you to pay attention to the story, essentially. Like, there's not really a story there. It's just this elaborate setting, but there's nothing happening. As opposed to when you create the story around the characters, all you really have to do for the environment is just build the environment around whatever is going on with the characters. So as you start fleshing out details with the characters, the story will start to write itself. You just simply start building the world around the story that you're making with the characters, if that makes any sense. Like, you can create a premise, but don't get too caught up in the actual setting when you're building your premise. It's okay to have a premise that sort of writes itself and you sort of build the characters around it, but don't get too caught up in the actual world that the premise is based on, because you can sometimes lose the characters in the story that way, as opposed to the setting, which I guess a nice way to put it is this: you can tell a story with characters in an actual void. There can be characters in nothingness and you could figure out a way to tell the story. It's pretty hard to tell a story if you have this gigantic environment and no one's in it. So it's always best to build the story around the characters instead of building the story around the setting. So that's just what I'm getting at, and that was just my little take on that question or that topic, and I need to get to work, so I will see you all later.